I'm going to take a moment to go through what I believe is going to be YouTube's first video on the KEIRF disk utilities. I wasn't able to find any information on this other than a few chats and what's here. Let me say that it appears that the KEIRF disk utilities are fantastic for converting floppy disk images and doing all kinds of really cool stuff with them, particularly for Commodore Amiga users. That is not me, but I have a different reason for wanting to use this utility. I simply want to convert floppy disk images from one format to another. I prefer to use the SuperCard Pro by Jim Drew, which is loved and cherished by Commodore users, and it should be. I mean, Jim Drew is a Commodore engineer, so he has that Commodore connection, and I think he originally made it for Commodore users and Commodore disks, but it certainly works for many other disks, and it definitely works for disks for us here at Forgotten Machines. We're initially using it to read some floppy disks for our restoration and resurrection of the Convergent Technologies AWS and IWS machines. But we'll get to that in another video. So when going through this, I realized that while it's a fantastic tool, the way to use it is not obvious. And it's not that it's not documented, because right here in the readme.md, which is published right here in the usual place it is on GitHub, it gives some instructions on how to use it, but they're not really thorough instructions if you're not familiar with Linux. That actually is me. I should be doing more stuff in Linux than I am, but I go for long periods of time and I forget, and then I get out of context. And today I was beating my head against the computer because I really wanted to see someone demonstrate the use of this. And all I could do was read about it, and I could read bits and pieces here and there. And I couldn't actually see someone demonstrate it. So that's what I'm going to do now. You guys are going to watch me demonstrate it. And hopefully it's going to be a useful demonstration. And I think one of the reasons that I really wanted to do that is I found this comment right here. Somebody saying they really want to try these utilities themselves and they want to play around with it, converting SCP images to another format. It's exactly what I want to do. I actually want to convert SCP images to IMD images because I want to look at basically the hex dump of the floppy. The only issue is that he can't get his head around compiling the disk utility, and the instructions are way too vague. Not a criticism. I don't read it as that, but that's exactly what I found. The instructions are way too vague. Now, this person says they're also using Windows 10, not Linux. Do you happen to have a pre-compiled version that will work on? Now, in this video, I'm not going to go that far to show how to do this strictly from Windows, but at some point I might actually like to do that. I am going to be using a version of Linux on a separate machine that I'm connected to using basically a terminal. But at least we'll get through the demonstration of compiling it on Linux and using it, and we could actually see it. We'll follow the instructions. We find out that they are really quite clear if you fill in some of the missing gaps. But anyway, we're going to go through this process from start to finish, right from downloading the code here and installing it on Linux. Now, what I've done, I'm not going to actually show this. I've clicked download the zip, and I downloaded the zip here on a Windows machine, which I'm using. Well, I unzipped it in Windows, and then I copied it over on an SD card to my Linux machine. By the way, I'm going to put the URL for the disk utilities in the description. github.com/KEIRF/disk utilities. Yes, it is case sensitive, I believe. Enough of my rambling. Let's see if I can find the right screen. All right, I'm using a little terminal emulator here connected to a Linux machine. It happens to be a BeagleBone Black running Linux Debian. Now what I've done is I've actually copied all of the files from that zip file over to this KEIRF directory here on my BeagleBone Black. And so if we were to have a look at the contents of that, it should match everything that you have when you download the zip file and open it. So, and I think it should even match this, right? Pretty much. I am going to click download, and we're just going to do a side-by-side check because I want to make sure I did this right. All right. So let's open that zip file right here. Disk utilities master. That's the file. That's the folder that I renamed to KEIRF when I copied it over. All right. Sorry about that, but I just wanted to make sure that everything that was in the zip file, for the most part, is over here. And with the exception of this .git ignore, it is. Okay. Building and installing. All right. So I'm just going to blindly follow this. I'm just going to blindly follow these commands here, and I'm going to do exactly what they say. And I don't really understand them, but they worked last time, so we're going to do them again. So the building and installing over here, and I'm just going to be in the. I think. Am I going to be in the directory? Let me do this. I'm going to do what I did before. I actually went to the disk analyze directory. I don't know if you need to, but I'm going to. Very cool. Just out of curiosity, I want to see what's in this directory. Great. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. Now that I'm here, I am going to do exactly what he says. Make clean. All right. I can even copy and paste in this particular terminal. Make clean. So something happens. Great. So next is make. More stuff happens. Magic. Look at the magic. All right. That was good. And then sudo make install. Now on this, I don't think the sudo is necessary, but it's definitely not going to hurt. If I were using Ubuntu, I know it would be necessary. I do know that much. Okay. This is not anywhere near as much as what I had before. And we see some errors. User bin LD cannot find LDisk. So at this point, I became so confused that I knew I had to stop and call out for a friend. So a whole day has gone by, and I've done exactly that. Because what to do about this wasn't obvious, and it wasn't covered in the instructions. But needless to say, the process failed. So we're going to have a look at exactly what my friend did. And it seems so simple, but he knew exactly what to do. Now, we're about to change to another terminal emulator. So the colors are going to change. But don't let that confuse you. It's the same system. So here we go. All right, he's checking something here, nano makefile. I guess he's checking out the contents of the makefile. Nano is a text editor on Linux. And so he's just looking at it. And in a second, he knew exactly what to do. Did you see that? Let's go back for just a minute. Make all. Now, that wasn't in the instructions, was it? All right, let's check again just to make sure I didn't miss it. And no, the README does not say anything about make all. It doesn't. So that's one of those little tricks. You got to know it. And he knew it. So let's go back again and just pick up right at when he types make all, and let's watch all the way through what happens until the next thing we encounter. So here we go. Make all. Wow, a lot more happened that time. And if all of that stuff doesn't happen, all of this Linux goodness doesn't happen, then I think you know by now that it's not working right. So, all right, it's all finished. Now what? All right, so he typed just a list, right? Just a file list. And we're changing directories to disk analyze. Very good. And we're looking at everything in there, and we can see that the disk analyze is actually there. Now, before there was disk analyze C and then disk analyze O, but this time disk analyze is actually there. But there's one more problem that we're going to have to solve. So watch what happens next here. All right, so we have this error. Error while loading shared libraries, libdisk.so.0. As if all of these errors weren't enough, we've got one more to pile on top of it. Okay, that's why I'm making this video, to guide you through this process, the perils and pitfalls, as it were. Now, he does actually talk about this, okay? So we can have a look at that. Let's have a look at that right here. Back on the GitHub, I'm going to skip over the IPF and CT raw support. That is not something I'm working with, and I'm sorry I'm not able to help you with that if that's something that you're here looking for. But I am going to skip right to the library search path, error while loading shared libraries, libdisk.so.0. And he says exactly what to do about it. So this is nice to know that he's anticipated this error and told us what to do about it. So it must have been quite common. It'll need to be run on. Now this was a really fun thing for me, as I'm looking at this, not really knowing Linux any better than I do. Runtime linker search path. I had a lot of fun with that. I was Google searching runtime linker, and I was coming up with all kinds of different things. But finally, I just gave up because I wanted to get done with this. And maybe that's something for a future topic, even though I don't want to do Linux training videos. Runtime linker. What does it mean? Well, maybe somebody can tell me in the comments if enough of you watch and help educate me on this, because I want to stay on going with the forgotten machines. Now, certain amounts of Unix and Linux will be required, but let's stick to the task. libdisk.so.0. We've got to get this to work. Okay, so he tells us what to do on basically Linux, Mac OS, and Windows Cygwin. Well, we're on Linux. So basically, we copy this. Now, here's what I figured out. This disk analyze / disk analyze, what he's saying is the disk analyze here, that's the directory. The disk analyze here, that's basically the program that we've just gone through all that trouble to create. So we need to get this path just right. So in my case, I'm going to go through this myself after we watch how my friend did it. So let's now watch how my friend did it for a moment, and then I'm going to go and try it myself. Not that I want to redo something that's already been done, but just to show how I might have done it a little bit differently. So he's looking in libdisk. All right, and so I think he instinctively knows this libdisk.so.0 is there. What does he do? He copies it. That's something completely different. And see, he got it to work. He copied it. All right. So I guess he solved the same thing by doing something different, but I'm actually going to follow the instructions. So let's stop looking at my friend's work now, and we're actually going to go to sure. All right. So here we are at KEIRF, and what I wanted to do was I want to copy the command necessary. I'm going to bring it over here in Notepad. And I'm going to customize it for what I think it needs to be. So basically, I need to put the full path here, and that's really what I intend to do. So where is disk analyze? All right, so it's in this full directory right here. Now this is me just being thorough, and I'm going to put it in there. But see, this isn't good enough because disk analyze is a directory. We have to put it in there again because this is disk analyze the directory, and then disk analyze the program. See, if we were to do a list here, right here. This is what we went through all of that trouble up until this point to make. This disk analyze file right here. Don't ask me why it can't just be in the original package. I don't know. There's got to be some crazy Linux dependencies that are different for every single build of Linux. Something like that. I'm just guessing. I don't know. Don't ask me why we have to go through all that. But evidently, on Linux, we do. And since this thing runs on Linux, we do. All right. So all that said then, let's just do this the way I know that we should. Now, I think this is going to wrap. So let me go back here and clear the screen. It wrapped just a little bit. See how the cursor went back there, but that's okay. Let's see what happens when I do this. Oh. Well, I guess it says, hey, I've already been done. Usage. Well, anyway, I'm pretty sure that works. The fact that he did it a different way probably made that step not necessary. And so if I did it again, we got a different result. I'm sorry about that. But I went through the exercise because I wanted to show you what I did the first time when I wasn't recording this on my own that actually got it to work on yet a different Linux system. Okay, so now I'm exhausted, and I haven't even shown you how to use the Disk Analyze program for what I want to use it for. So let's do that and get it over with. Oh my gosh, wow. All right, so where are we? /disk analyze. See, that's it. It's all about syntax. Now let's talk about this thing, because we've finally gotten here. All right, so this is now how to use this program. So only when you get this far do you get to see that the instructions are here. Usage, disk analyze, the command I just typed, and then the options, which are basically all of these things right here. Okay, and then space the in file and space the out file. Now I'm going to show you how to do the whole reason I installed this. I'm going to demonstrate right here. All I wanted to do with this thing was to convert an SCP file, SuperCard Pro, which it defines as a supported file format, SCP program right here, and I want to convert it to an IMD, image disk format. That's all I want to do. A whole lot of trouble for that, but I do not see any other tools to do it. Maybe I've missed them, but I don't see the tools to do it. So let's now check the syntax of how we do that. So now I was a little bit confused because my next question was, well, how do I tell it what format I want the destination to be in? Maybe it can auto-detect the source file, but how do I tell it what the destination is going to be? And I think the answer is by the extension you put on the file name. So if the input file has the extension .scp, it's going to think it's a SuperCard profile. So I guess that means that your input file better have the correct extension on it, maybe. But by virtue of just there's no other answer. The out file, the destination file, seems to have the .3-digit format that you want for the out file. So in my case, it's going to be IMD. So let's try exactly that. All right. And so in my case, I'm actually not going to use any of these options because none of these options actually say do a convert. None of them. You know, we've got print extra diagnostic info. We've got index align, clear bed sectors. I don't want to do any of that. I don't want to do any of this stuff. The RPM of the drive that created the input. Well, that'd be kind of fun, I guess. Maybe for the sake of I've done this far and I want to play with it, we'll show that. Start cylinders, I don't want to mess with that yet. End cylinders, I don't want to mess with that yet. Although it's good to know we can. Single-sided disk. Cryoflux hack. All right, he's put a lot of stuff in here. So once you figure out how to get this far, there's clearly a lot of power in this disk utility. You just have to figure out how to get this far. So hopefully this has helped you. All right, let's finish, shall we? Okay, where was I? Okay, so over here in my root directory, I'll do a little directory thing here, ls-l, and this is the file I want to convert, right here. 10.2 underscore AWS underscore init.scp. There's our magic extension, SuperCard Pro. All right, and I want to convert that to an IMD file. So I'm just going to copy that. Let me go to the proper directory now. We're going to go to cd and then disk analyze with an S, not with a Z. Uh-oh. All right, whatever I did wrong, we'll figure it out. Okay, now, we remember now that we have to do /disk analyze. Okay, space, and we're going to put in the source file name, space, and then we're going to put in the destination file name, which is going to be the same. Uh-oh, it wrapped. I hate it when it does that. All right, here we are over at the green emulator. I'm going to pick up right where we left off, and I've copied this right here. All right, we're going to paste that here. Failed to probe init file. Why? Well, I'll tell you why. Because I didn't specify what directory it's in. It's in the root directory. And I'm going to put it in the root directory. Okay, so let's try that. Got to get the syntax right. If you don't get everything right, it's just not going to work. Okay. All right. So it's doing something. It's working. We're going to wait for it. It doesn't tell you that it's working. It just is working. I suppose it could if we were to do a verbose output. Let's try that next, because getting familiar with this, once we've gotten this far, getting familiar with this and actually seeing how it works, I think is going to be really important. Okay, look at that. This is encouraging. So it has T0.0-76.1. I don't know what that means. IBM FMDD. IBM MFM. So I guess it's identified as IBM MFM format, a modified frequency modulation format, which is very normal for floppy disks. DD, I suppose, stands for double density. 16 256 byte sectors, 4096 bytes, and then it came up with another code, which I don't know what it means yet, and it says unformatted. Great. I don't know what those things mean, but I have a feeling it actually did the conversion. Let's go back over to the directory that has this. And sure enough, there it is right here. It created an IMD file, and just by the size of the size of the file, oh, that highlight is awful, isn't it? Just by the size of the file, 530 kilobytes instead of 12.8 megabytes. Just by the size of the file, I get the feeling that it really is what I want it to be. Now, this was the original file, the SuperCard Pro. Let's open this. I like to use HXD as a hex editor. And I'm going to open the SuperCard profile. This is not what I wanted. It's the SuperCard profile, and this has all of the raw disk magnetic flux transitions in it. Great. That's beautiful. What I really wanted to see was the IMD file. Let's see if this is an IMD file. And it sure looks like it is. Look at that. IMD. And this is the kind of header I'm used to for an IMD file. I think it has successfully converted it. Okay, so that said, let's try this again, shall we? And just see if we can play with some options and see how this thing really behaves. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove that file. All start at IMD. I'm going to remove all the files that are IMD, and there's only one, so that was easy for me. And so there, it's gone. Let's clear the screen so I don't get confused. And now let's just do the same thing again. Let's go back to that. Let's go back to that directory. And let's run this command again, only this time, let's specify -v. Why? Because the -v was verbose, wasn't it? Let's have a look. Verbose, print extra diagnostic info. So I guess that's one way to get it to tell you what it's doing. So let's do the same thing over again and have it tell us verbosely what it's doing. So let's try that. All right, so same command again. Do it again. Okay. So I guess it's working. It's telling us more. Found format IBM, PLL parameters, period adjust 5%, phase adjust 60%. Great. What else is it doing? Something, I hope. Okay. Well, it didn't say that much more. I thought it would say a heck of a lot more. But I guess it did the same thing, because this end section right here is pretty much the same thing. I got to change the color of that. I don't know. But you see me select it. Once I select it, you can't look at it because you're blinded by the yellow. But that's the same thing that we saw before. So far, success. Okay. What else did I want to have a look at? Disk analyze. Let's see here. I wanted to play with RPM drive data. Sure. Let's play with the RPM drive data. So how would we do that? Let's just change that to R and then not specify an output file. Let's just look for the input file and see if that works. Never done this before. Let's give that a shot. Okay. It did not like that. What did it say? Bad RPM value. Oh, you're supposed to specify an RPM value? Well, it doesn't say that. Or maybe it does. I just don't understand that that's what it's saying. RPM equals drive. Data, RPM of drive that created the input. Original recording, RPM of data, 300. Well, maybe I don't want to go down that road because now I'm confused. Evidently, it figured out what the RPM was in the first place, probably because it was already recorded in the SuperCard Pro, so it didn't need to be specified. Okay, never mind then. I think we're done. I think we're done. For the other more advanced uses of this, I'm going to wish you luck. If I feel up to recording an update because I've played with this some more, I will most certainly do it because I now have 2 days invested in this, and I want to see, I really want to see somebody succeed because I put the effort in to create a video where you can actually see how this might work on a Linux system and spend less time having to teach yourself Linux and just follow some of my steps step by step, and hopefully it will help and work for you. Okay, that's it. So one more tool to help us recover forgotten machines here at Forgotten Machines. So as always, thanks for watching.